Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I am shooting this video right now because literally I got pulled over by a police officer 1.5 hours ago, right now. 1.5 hours ago, I was at the side of the road talking to a fine law enforcement officer here in the state of Michigan. And I've mentioned before about traffic stops. And if you get pulled over by a police officer, regardless of why you get pulled over, you have some choices you can make, and you can affect and impact how that transaction happens at the side of the road. Now, some people who watch my channel regularly will say, Steve, I seem to recall you got pulled over before, and you told us about that shortly thereafter. When was that? Because do you get pulled over a lot or not? Well, I can tell you it was over 6 years ago, because it happened on the evening of the election in 2016. And this, of course, is 2022, so that was over 6 years ago because we just had an election. And I distinctly remember that story, and I told that story in another video. Not going to go there really in depth right now. I'm going to talk about what happened tonight because I went to visit a doctor. I went to a doctor, and I'd never been to this doctor before, and I'm fine. Thank you very much. I know you were concerned. And the doctor's appointment was towards the end of the day. And then afterwards, I'm driving home. And I'm driving on a road I've driven before. I know the area pretty well, but I don't drive there every day, and not even necessarily even every month. But it's a road. It's not a highway. It's a couple lanes, and it goes north-south, and it runs through some small towns. And what I was doing is I was driving in my new Explorer. So I'm just driving an SUV. I'm not driving my Viper or anything. And I'm driving through town, and I got through one of the towns that's kind of complicated to get through, if you know what I mean. And when you get to the north end of town, the traffic just opens up, and there's this wide open road before you. And of course, now it's evening, and it's getting late. And so I did accelerate a little bit heading out of town because I thought, hey, town's behind me, open road ahead of me. I got places to go, people to see. And a cop who wants to pull me over, who, by the way, claimed I was speeding. We'll talk about that in a second. So I'm north of the town that I just got through. I did start picking it up a little bit, and the lights went on. And I'm talking about it went off like a fireworks display behind me. I didn't know they had that many lights on cars these days. I mean, this thing was lit up. I mean, there was no question it was lit. So I went to pull over, and almost immediately when I went to pull over, I saw there was an apron to pull into a subdivision, so I could pull way over. And I'm telling you right now that next time you get pulled over, if in fact you ever get pulled over driving a car in America, and this might work in other countries, but I can't vouch for it because I've never been pulled over in other countries. But there are things you can do, keeping in mind that police officers have an awful lot of discretion at the roadside. They can throw the book at you. They can decide to do nothing. They can do something in the middle. And they have a lot of interaction with people at the roadside. And so quite often, and I've talked to cops, I've talked to judges, I've talked to prosecutors, I've talked to all kinds of people. I've talked to city cops, county sheriffs, state troopers. They all tell me the same thing. If you are polite and reasonable at the side of the road, there is a much better chance that things will go well for you in the sense that you will get lesser of a ticket or no ticket compared to somebody who decides to give the cop a hard time. Now, I'll let you know right now, I get people pushing back against the video I put up called How to Behave at the Roadside or How to Avoid Getting a Ticket. I forgot what the title of the video is, but I did a video on that. People say, Steve, I can't believe you're going to kiss that cop's butt to get out of a ticket. Hey, if you want to, you can tell that cop where to put it. And guess what he's going to do? He's going to write you a stack of tickets. And you're going to be able to tell your friends, I told that cop where he could stick those tickets as he handed them to me. And I had to pay him. Now, if being polite to a police officer for 60 seconds is going to get me out of several $100s worth of tickets and a couple points on my driver's license, I personally will take that route. But you do you. Whatever you want to do, knock yourself out. I'm a lawyer. I'm here to explain to you how these things can work, and you can choose to take my advice or not. But tonight, I took my own advice. So the lights go on like there is a New Year's celebration happening behind me with the full fireworks. I mean, there was no question I was being pulled over. So I pull over into the apron for the subdivision, so far off the side of the road, put the car in park, roll the window down, turn the dome lights on, put the hands on the steering wheel. And this police officer made it up to my window very quickly. I was surprised at how quickly he got up there. But he was also tucked in quite closely, which is what they often do, because remember, as the officer is approaching your car, he has no idea what he's going to encounter. Are there people in the back seat? Are you going to jump out at him? Who knows what's going to happen? It's dark out. This happened at night. So I turn the dome lights on so he can see me. I roll the window down so he can talk to me. I put my hands on the steering wheel so he can see them. And as he approached the car, I leaned forward so he could see me. And I looked at him and I said, hello. And he said, driver's license, please. That's all I said, driver's license. Now, that, believe it or not, is a good sign. He didn't say registration, proof of insurance, which are the three things they often ask for when they pull you over. Driver's license indicates that he might already be thinking about not giving me a ticket. But then he said, did not say, do you know why I pulled you over? He said, I've been following you, and you were doing 62 and a 45. And he said, while I was following you, I saw you hit one of the lines, referring to the fog line at the side of the road. I'm pretty sure it would have been that one if I hit any lines. I don't remember doing that, but he says I did. And he also says that he paced me at 62. Didn't get radar on me, he paced me at 62. He goes, the speed limit here is 45. He goes, just a little bit further up the road, it bumps up. But right now, from where we are back, it's 45. I got you in 62 in a 45. And he goes, I saw you hit one of the lines. He goes, I pulled you over just to make sure that you weren't intoxicated. Now, he doesn't watch my show, I assume, because as many of you know, I don't drink. Not a religious thing, not a weird, goofy, antisocial thing. I just never developed a taste for alcohol. Just never have. I drink so little alcohol that if you said, Steve, when was the last time you had a beer? I could think about it and probably pinpoint the year for you. But it would take me a few minutes to come up with a date. So I looked at him, made sure he could see my eyes, and I said, I'm obviously not intoxicated. And he goes, oh, no. He goes, I can see that now. He goes, but that was my concern. He goes, you were speeding. He goes, I saw you swerve in the lane. He goes, I wanted to make sure you weren't intoxicated. Then he looks at my driver's license. He goes, how do you pronounce your last name? I go, Lehto. And he goes, oh, where are you coming from? Now, here's the tricky part. I was just coming, as I said, from my doctor's office, but I'd just gone to this doctor for the first time, and it's in a small town that I had not been to in years, and I actually had a mental blank, and I'm like, do I make something up? And then I remembered, I said it, and I said, oh, here. And he goes, what was happening down there? And I said, I just came from my doctor's office. I go, doctor's appointment. And it's the truth. And he looked at me and he goes, okay, well, here's the deal. He goes, slow down. And he hands me the license back and he goes walking back. I go, thank you, sir. Rolled the windows up, turned the dome light off, put it in gear. Actually, that's figurative because I had put it in gear down here, I think. Put it in gear. And then I turned signal, pulled out and drove down the road. I saw him turn around and head back. Now, just so you understand a couple things. One of the reasons he pulled me over, it wasn't just that I was speeding. I don't know that I was doing a 62 and a 45. I don't think I was. He's out driving around right now because it's Thanksgiving week. And this is one of the biggest drinking weeks there is in North America. In fact, Wednesday night before and Friday night after are bar nights, extravaganzas for people to drink. And so the police are out right now. It's like shooting fish in a barrel to find drunk drivers. And so I assure you that the second he saw I was sober, he's like, darn, I got to go out and look for some more drunks. So that entire exchange at the side of the road was under 5 minutes. And I might be compressing the time a little bit in my mind because, time flies and you're having fun, but also because it ended well, But I think it was under 5 minutes. But the guy walked up, asked to see my license. And by the way, I said, I'm going to reach for my license. I'm sitting in my wallet. Is that okay? And he goes, yeah, go ahead. And I am convinced that that one statement tonight and back in 06, back in 2016, the last time I got pulled over was a state trooper, and we were out in the middle of nowhere on a dark desert highway east of Omaha. And same thing, dome lights, hands on the wheel, police officer, and he goes, "Can I see your driver's license?" And I said, "It's in my wallet, in my pants pocket. Is it okay if I reach for it?" I swear to God, his entire visage changed, and he said, "Yeah, go right ahead." And I reached back, got the wallet, pulled the driver's license out, handed it to him. Same thing here. When I asked for permission to get my wallet, and by the way, that's the word that ticks so many people off. They go, "Steve, I can't believe you're a grown man asking a stranger for permission to reach for your own wallet." Like I said, you do you. I can tell you right now that police officers, when they approach your car, are on edge. Whether they should be or not, I don't care. They are. And so when they walk up the car and they can see your hands, because you've got them on the wheel, and when they say, "Can I see your license?" and you say, "Yeah, I have got to reach underneath me to get it." How many times have you heard about bad things happening because people reached for things in cars? How many times have you heard people got in trouble for reaching things in cars after saying, "I'm going to reach for it"? Now, I know some of you are going, "Steve, there's a great example where that actually happened." I know, but that was very unusual. For the most part, if you're there and the cop has a good view of you and you say, "I'm going to reach beneath me and grab my wallet to show you my license," this cop and the other trooper both said, "Oh, go right ahead." And they recognize that I am cooperating. And that goes a long way, because the police officer, if he had wanted to, tonight could have written me, according to him, 2 tickets: speeding and improper lane usage. Now, I don't know about where you're from, but the speeding ticket's probably going to be a couple points, possibly 3 if he writes me for all of the speed that he claims he thought I was doing. And the improper lane usage might also be a couple points, but also be some money. So by not writing me the ticket or tickets, he saved me a couple $100. And if you believe, like I do, that my demeanor and my actions and how I behaved in that short window of time played into that, I just saved myself a couple $100 and possibly more with respect to saving money on my insurance, depending on whether those points would have been enough to change my insurance rates. So, what have we learned tonight? Number 1, coming back from the doctor the week of Thanksgiving, drive slow, especially at night, because they're looking for drunks. And by the way, try not to drink before you drive, because if that cop had asked me to get out and do some sobriety, I'd be out there doing cartwheels. I don't care. I'm as sober as a church mouse, okay? And so, he could tell by looking at me. And by the way, when he said that, I leaned out to make sure he could see my eyes. My eyes are not bloodshot, okay? And I understand that's just one of many signs they can be looking for. They're not glassy. I'm not slurring my speech. But the key here, the takeaway here is that the reason I'm in such a good mood right now is that things could have gone so badly about 40 minutes ago. They could have. I could have gotten a couple tickets. And I'd be telling you a completely different story right now about how I hate the cops in some small town in Michigan. I like those cops. So the guy asked me how to pronounce my last name. I told him. And he said, "Well, Mr. Lehto, slow down and have a nice night." Give me the driver's license back. And I took it back, put it back in my wallet, turned the dome lights off, rolled the window up, got back on my merry little way. So here we are. There are going to be some people who are going to say, "Steve, I still disagree. I don't think we should give the cops any slack. I think if they pull you over, I should be allowed to tell them what I think of them. And yeah, go right ahead. Knock yourself out." There are things in life that may not seem fair, but if you're realistic, you look at them and go, "But that's just the way things are." And so, yes, could I, at the side of the road, given that cop a hard time? Could I have messed with him? Could I have cracked my window this much and said, "I can hear you. Why have you pulled me over, sir? What's the emergency?" I could have done those things. I'd still be at the roadside right now. And I'd be getting a stack of tickets when it was all over. I like my outcome a little better than that outcome. But again, like I said, you do you. Now, some people are going to say, "Steve, I'm doing the math on this. You got pulled over once now in 2022. You got pulled over once before in 2016. When was the last time before that you got pulled over?" And I can tell you it was, I'm pretty certain, 2010. 2010. So if you go back 12 years, I've been pulled over 3 times. I'm going to be honest with you. I got a ticket in the last time I got pulled over 12 years ago. That one time I got pulled over of those 3 times. So in 3 times pulled over, I've gotten 1 ticket. One ticket. And I know some people say, Steve, I've been driving my entire life. I've never been pulled over. Hey, great. I know people who've got no cavities also. However, if you drive a lot, there's a good chance you're going to get a ticket or at least pulled over from time to time. I remember being in the car with my mother when she was carpooling us. She's driving the carpool. She got pulled over. I remember another time my friend's mom, when she was driving the carpool, she got us pulled over. I remember sitting in the back, looking through the window at the cop, going, oh my, it's a gun right there. The guy's got a badge. He's going to give her a ticket. Or my carpool rate's going to go up. And I've had people say, but Steve, there are some people out there who never get pulled over. Yeah, I know. I drive behind them. They drive 5 miles below the speed limit. They don't turn right on red. They occasionally drive in the middle of 2 lanes, and police, for whatever reason, don't give them a ticket for improper lane usage. And quite often, there are people out there who also don't drive at all, or they drive like once a month or something. And so if you drive a lot, there's a chance you're going to get pulled over occasionally. And I know a lot of people, and I meet very few people who can honestly say, Steve, I drive a lot, I'm your age, and I never get pulled over, ever. Okay, congratulations. You don't need my advice then. Maybe if my story entertains you, then that's okay. If my story doesn't entertain you and you cannot use my advice and you're never going to get pulled over, I apologize for making this video. However, I'm going to let you know right now, I've had many people tell me, Steve, I watched your video. I read your article in roadandtrack.com. I've heard you talk about this before. And I got pulled over and I took your advice. And I'm going to let you know right now, I've gotten that email a couple dozen times since I first started talking about this on the internet 8 or 9 years ago. And I'm being serious right now, is that if you get pulled over, police officer behind you pulls you over, whether you know why you got pulled over or not, if you do the things that I suggest you do, that is to make it easier for the police officer and to put him or her at ease as quickly as possible, there's a better chance that the transaction will go smoother for you. It may take less time, like mine did tonight. You might get out of it, like I did the previous time, where the guy actually ran my information but came back and decided not to write the ticket. Or the cop might say, well, gee, I was going to write you for 20 over, but you know something? You were nice. I'm going to write you up for 5 over. And I've heard that story before also. So I've never had someone say, Steve, I did everything you told me to do, and the cop still threw the book at me. I've never heard that one. That's the one I've not heard. So that's my advice. Take it or leave it. But just to let you know, I live by it. And there I was by the side of the road for about 4 minutes earlier tonight. So I want to thank the police officer who kindly let me go, but I don't know his name. He knows my name and how to pronounce it. But hopefully he doesn't watch YouTube, because otherwise he might go, gee, I could have got that guy. I could have got him. Now he's talking about me. So that's why I won't mention what department he's from. But that's what I did tonight. And that, of course, is the night before you're seeing this video for the first time. I hope you enjoy it. Questions or comments, feel free to put them below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. It's a wise thing to hold back.